It's no fun when our kids are sick, but we may just have found the silver lining. Apple and raspberry and orange flavoured electrolyte slushies made by Rehydrate.
Rehydrate slushies are a tasty way to get essential electrolytes into our little ones when they're dehydrated from sickness or even just the Aussie heat. They're delicious and they'll help your little ones feel better in no time. Grab Rehydrate from Coles today.
It's the Happy Families podcast with Dr Justin Coulson. We're Luke and Susie. We're a husband and wife radio team with 3 young children. And this is the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants some answers now.
Suze, we were chatting to someone just the other day, and they said all the right words about, being a mum's great and it's wonderful. And then we just kept talking and went, so hard. And and there was a few little things they said that almost went, they didn't say this, but you could always paraphrase of, I think my child has ruined my life.
Yeah.
When it comes to family and parenting and marriage and so all these important relationships in our home, they can be tough work sometimes, and you need to put a bit of focus and you need to put a bit of energy into it. And that's why our next guest is such a great treat to have on our show.
He absolutely is. Dr Justin Coulson from happyfamilies.com.au. You obviously have learnt lessons through study and you've learnt lessons through life, Dr Justin, I imagine.
I have 6 children, 1 wife, nearly 20 years of marriage. I still feel like that 20-something-year-old who, made a fool of himself proposing to that girl that he thought was just amazing. And it's hard work, even when you're with somebody who is absolutely incredible and somebody who you're completely crazy about.
So are you punching above your weight, Justin? Is that the message we got there?
Well, perhaps, yeah. And that was part of the plan. Always marry somebody that makes you work hard to stay there.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose asking that question, what guy in the world is ever safely allowed to say, no, it's fine. Well, she's probably punching above her weight.
Well, we want to talk about marriage. We often talk about parenting with you, Dr. Justin Coulson, but we need to focus on our marriages as well. And these can often go by the wayside a little bit, especially when children are in a stage where they need a lot of our attention. And so how can we go about making sure our marriages stay on track?
The number one thing is time. My favourite saying is attention is the currency of relationships. So just like dollars drive our economy, attention drives our relationships. And if our relationships are starved of attention, then they're going to end up in the red and we'll end up relationally bankrupt. So secret number one for having a thriving marriage is time. You've got to have time together. Now, I know some people say, I don't think so. In fact, the more we're apart, the happier we are together. But that's not normal. That is, it does happen, but it's not normal. For relationships to really thrive, we've got to have time together. And let me tell you, when you've got a bunch of children running around and you've got tight funds and all that sort of thing, it can be really tough to make it happen. So let me give you a couple of really, really tidy and simple to implement hints.
Right, great.
Number one, have a date night every week. Every week. The way that you do this is, if your children are old enough, you just get them a movie and let them watch a movie while you go out. If they can't be trusted because they're going to beat each other up, then you hire a babysitter. If you can't hire a babysitter because funds are too tight, or if you're thinking, I can't even afford a date, what's he talking about? You can go for a walk, or you can go for a bike ride, or you can go and do something that doesn't cost anything. There are so many low-cost and no-cost activities. It just requires a little bit of forethought. And if babysitting's a problem, find another couple who's just like you, who wants to have time with their spouse, but they can't because they're just too busy, and do a trade-off. This week you look after their kids, and next week they look after your kids.
It's something that we have known, and there's no great surprise. Most of us go into knowing this is important. And all those things you said, we can go yes, and we can argue or we can agree with. But knowing that it's a priority, and knowing that it's actually relatively easy to do, doesn't actually mean we do it, Justin. Why do we so often find ourselves like a year or 18 months down the track and go, oh my gosh, we haven't actually had any date time together?
Look, I think there's a couple of reasons. Reason number one, Facebook. Reason number 2, MasterChef. Reason number 3, My Kitchen Rules. I'm kind of being a bit cheeky, but we get so caught up in the unimportant. We get completely distracted by the stuff that doesn't matter. And frankly, we kind of get a bit lazy. I mean, guys, we sort of say, well, the chase is over. I'm married to her now. I don't have to keep on working to keep this thing happening. And that's where we make the great mistake. It's kind of like the person who goes out and exercises for 3 or 4 months, gets a great bod, and then says, well, I've got it. Now I don't have to go to the gym anymore. I don't have to ride my bike or run or do any of that stuff anymore. Everyone knows that's a load of garbage. You never stop if you want to maintain. And it's the same with our marriages.
Yeah. Susie, I'm picking up here that Dr. Justin might not consider those times we were sitting in the lounge room together Facebook messaging each other as date time. Apparently. But we were
Probably
connecting.
not.
We were in the same room. We were having a conversation. Not a word uttered in real life. It's amazing how it happens. We're talking with Dr. Justin Coulson, our expert on marriage and on families, to help us to focus in on building our marriages.
Everyone wants their family to be happy, but so much gets in the way. Work stress, commitments, and our children's challenging behaviour are some of the usual suspects. And we can all tidy up our parenting style and get clearer about what will actually make our family happier. 21 Days to a Happier Family is the best-selling parenting book by Dr. Justin Coulson, with answers to both common and complicated parenting problems. Combining cutting-edge scientific insights with real examples of family life in the trenches, you'll find dozens of strategies for making your family happier. 21 Days to a Happier Family. Available online and from booksellers everywhere and at happyfamilies.com.au.
It's the Happy Families podcast with Dr. Justin Coulson. We're Luke and Susie.
Talking about focusing on marriage, and the first thing that we talked about is actually taking some date time, prioritising getting a babysitter, having some time out, actually engaging with each other. Quality time versus quantity time, Justin. Is there such a debate?
You know what? Time is time. Attention is the currency of relationships. Our families spell love Time. Just like my little toddler who's walked into the room now to hand me things and probably make a racket. It's all about time. It's all about face-to-face time. When you go to the movies on a date, I'm sorry, but that's not quality time. You're staring at a screen. It's a big screen and you're not touching it like you might with your phone or your iPad, but it's still a screen. That's not a date. What we've got to do is we've actually got to go somewhere where we look at each other in the eyes and when we talk to each other with our mouths. We might even hold hands. We might even, kiss. Mm-hmm. But it's all about having that time together. It's absolutely about time together. Oh, and look, one other thing. If your relationship is not going well, here's something heavy for you. Maybe we should talk about this another time because it probably requires a bit of effort. But if your relationship's not going well, in almost every case, you are the problem. I know you think the other person's the problem, but it's not them. It's you.
Yeah, it's really time to end this conversation now. Thank you so much.
That's gold because it's so true. A simple change of attitude in both parties can make the difference, but you need to start with yourself, right?
You've got to start with yourself. You might say, he never notices when I clean the house, or she doesn't appreciate how hard I work. I know I'm being very gendered there, but the reality is that we've still got the typical gender split in terms of housework and in terms of who's earning the money. And when we're dealing with things in that way, what we actually do is we only alienate one another further. What we need to do instead is we need to say, gee, things haven't been really, really going well lately. What I probably need to do is apologise, and what I probably need to do is look for some other ways where I can make a contribution to the relationship. What am I not doing? What am I not saying? How am I not connecting? And if we start to make the effort ourselves, what we'll find is that in a very short space of time, our spouse will say, wow, she's being so nice to me, or wow, he's really noticing that.
Absolutely. We were going to talk about a whole bunch of things about focusing on marriage. Fortunately, we've had to spend the most amount of time today on time. So before we wrap it up, Justin, on this point, is there an equation? Is there a spreadsheet formula you can give for me to go, here's the target of making sure we prioritise X amount of time, or time X out every X amount of days, no matter what else is happening, this is what we're locking in?
Yes, there is. It's available on my website for $2,500, and I'm hoping to sell 30 of them. No, of course there's not. No, look, I mean, this is this is one of those things where in life you do kind of have to, you set up your priorities and you focus on them and you get serious about that. But every now and again, other things will arise. A child might need more time and effort one week. Work might need more time and effort one week. And it's about putting your attention in the place where it needs to be. I don't believe that there's such a thing as balance. I've never met anybody who's got the balance right. Everyone that I know, once they let me in and start to talk about what's really going on in their lives, everyone says, my goodness, we're out of control. We just don't seem to be able to get the balance right. And that's because that's not possible. So what you do is you say, what are my values? My values are my relationship. My values are this. My values are that. And how can I live in accordance with my values as best as possible under the current circumstances, under the current deadlines?
Beautiful.
Very good.
I love that. I don't really believe in balance either. I just think you've got to do what you've got to do to get done what you've got to get done. And whatever that is what it is.
But you've got to have a goal. You've got to have that in. You've got to have a goal and know what you're working towards. If you don't have that, then you just react and respond to whatever's in front of you. And that's not helpful either. You need to know what it is that you're working towards and then prioritise accordingly. And sometimes you have to put the things that matter most on the back burner for things that matter least. But if you're doing that consistently, that's where you get into trouble.
Yeah. So I'm about to produce up a mass run of inspirational posters. Picture of a guy rock climbing and abseiling, and Susie's quote: "You got to do what you got to do to get done what you got to get done, and whatever that is, it is what it is."
I think what she's saying, Luke, is the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Dr. Justin Coulson from happyfamilies.com.au. We thank you so much for your time as we look at building healthier marriages. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for chatting, guys.
And for more information and those resources, podcasts, programs, you can find them all at happyfamilies.com.au. And of course, don't forget, Dr. Justin Coulson can be available to speak at your school or your organisation. If you're interested in finding out more details, go to justincoulson.com.